Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm so excited that all of you are here tonight. We have so much interest in folks wanting to learn more about how to have your best social life. Tonight, we have two special guests, Jeremy Hamburg and his wife, Alana, who are the founders of My Best Social Life. And they graciously came all the way down to San Diego and are also presenting across the nation and even international. We had quite a few different folks register for this to learn more. And basically, it's the 5 steps to helping autistic and neurodivergent young adults find community, build friendships, and start relationships. We connected in this space some time ago and have been really working hard to share this amazing presentation with you tonight. And afterwards, we will be following up with everybody. You'll have an opportunity to connect with Jeremy and Alana, as well as gain additional resources from Brain Balance. So for those that are not familiar with Brain Balance, we are a company across the nation, but in San Diego, who's hosting this today. I am managing the 3 centers we have. We have 3 centers in San Diego, in Carmel Mountain Ranch, and also our satellite centers in Encinitas, as well as Chula Vista. And we work with all different types of individuals, as young as 4 years old to our oldest student being 92 right now, to live your best life, really improve your performance and functioning, and what that allows everyone to do is hopefully meet their potential. That's the idea. We see a lot of people with or without a diagnosis, ADHD or ADHD symptoms, those who are trying to improve their social skills, reduce their anxiety, improve in their cognition and memory, and really anything under the sky, you can do better, right? We can all live our lives just a little bit better with a little bit of help. So that's why we have My Best Social Life here today, to really put together that other extra special piece that is essential, honestly, for healthy aging and a happy, fulfilling life. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Jeremy and Alana with My Best Social Life. I will be moderating the chat box. So again, please make sure you are on mute and that you enter your questions and comments in the chat box, and we'll take it from there. Okay, go ahead.
Big thank you, Amanda, for inviting Alana and me to talk about a topic that's incredibly meaningful to us. I'm Jeremy Hamburg. I'm the founder of My Best Social Life and the Social Life 360 program. Next to me is Alana Hamburg, who's our Director of Education. But Alana and I are friendship and dating coaches for autistic and neurodivergent adults. And we are all about helping young adults and adults who are on the spectrum and neurodivergent find community, make friends, meet new people, maybe even start dating, because that's such an important part of enjoying life. So that we're going to cover is how to help them use their passions and interests to find new people who have real potential to stick in their life, how to help them stop getting tongue-tied and having their minds go blank when they try to start a conversation, because that is so frustrating, right? You power through your fears, you power through your anxieties to go out and start a conversation with someone, and then it just goes really badly. We're going to cover how to help them have deeper conversations that go beyond small talk, because that's the key to sparking a real connection. And it's that feeling of connection that can bring new people into their life. And we're going to talk about how to help your young adult use their unique qualities to build their self-confidence. Because if there's one thing that Alana and I know to be true, it's that all the strategy in the world means absolutely nothing if your young adult doesn't have the confidence to go out and use it. So in short, this is all about how to help your son or your daughter or your client, or maybe you're even neurodivergent yourself, be the most courageous and confident version of themselves, so that they can find social opportunities and make the most out of social opportunities. So that's what we're going to cover. Before we go too much further, we just want to take a moment to introduce ourselves. Can I rope you into introducing yourself? I know you're feeling sick.
Yeah. So hi, everybody. As Jeremy's mentioned before, I'm Alana Hamburg, and I spent 16 years as a public school teacher in New York City, where I focused on empowering students with special needs to achieve their full potential. And back in early 21, before I became Alana Hamburg, Jeremy invited me to sit in on now our program's weekly community call with all of our clients. And I got to see something really special. I saw something that I'd never seen before. And it was a group of autistic and neurodiverse individuals coming together and celebrating their progress in a really positive and uplifting and inclusive way. And as I guess we both like to say, I came, I fell in love, and never left. So now I am really honored to be the Director of Education for the Social Life 360 program, and I truly love it because I get to spend my days thinking about how to decode the social world and recode it in a way that makes sense for the neurodivergent brain, using formulas and diagrams and step-by-step processes. So that's a little bit about my journey. Jeremy will share a little bit about his journey, which is a bit different.
And you can go take your cold and go sit elsewhere. So I'm the founder of My Best Social Life and our program Social Life 360. But my career actually started as a lawyer. I spent 7 years as in-house counsel for Chase Bank, and 7 years before that as a criminal prosecutor in New York City, where I specialized in financial crimes. And it was about the time that I was finishing law school that I started a social group for young adults in Manhattan. And no, I don't mean Manhattan Beach, like Manhattan, New York. And we'd get 100, 150, 200 people to our events. And my friends wanted to know how I walked into events by myself, and I walked out with new friends and sometimes even dates, because that's what they wanted for themselves. And my answer truly was, I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm doing. So I spent the next 3 years learning what makes two people click with each other. And I combined that with the skills that I was developing as a young prosecutor, because I think when most people think about a courtroom lawyer, right, you think about someone who projects confidence, who asks good questions, tells good stories, they're a good listener, right? Well, what I found is that winning over a jury of 12 is not much different than winning over one person. Being a confident and engaging person is magnetic, and it doesn't matter if you're in the courtroom or you're, at a social event. So I developed an innovative workshop that combined social strategy and real-time feedback, and a community center in New York agreed to host it. And it was so popular that I was invited back like a half dozen times. And what I didn't know was that community center had 3 special needs organizations under its roof. And their neurodivergent members were coming to my dating workshops. And they loved it so much that the special needs organizations started inviting me to do workshops just for them too, which I did. And I ended up spending about 3 years as the in-house friendship and dating coach for the adaptations program at the Silver Center for Special Needs in New York City. And something really cool happened during my time at the adaptations program. An award-winning film came of it. The movie was called Keep the Change. It featured 2 autistic actors, David Polanski and Samantha Lisifon. And they meet at a fictitious autism support group, and they start a romantic relationship. And it actually won Best Film at the Tribeca Film Festival, which I hear is pretty prestigious. And I'm proud that the very first place that this film was screened was in my dating class. But looking back on it, I think a big reason why the film was so groundbreaking was because nobody was talking back then about autistic people dating and finding love. It just wasn't a thing, right? This movie came out years before shows like Love on the Spectrum or Atypical. And back then, when this movie came out, seeing autistic people dating was a real novelty. And I thought to myself, this should not be a novelty, right? So I dedicated my career to cracking the code to social success for people with autism and later people who have a broader variety of neurodivergence. But I knew that my approach needed to be different because what was being taught in the neurodivergent community wasn't working for most people. So I'm proud to say that Social Life 360, which Alana and I run, is like nothing else on the planet. We give our clients simple step-by-step strategies for finding their tribe, becoming part of the fabric of their tribe, making new friends in it, and for those who are dating, how to spark that romantic connection. And what's really special is how we do it, right? The secret sauce. We do it in a way that matches how our clients' brains work. So we break down social situations into formulas and diagrams, and processes and checklists, as Alana talked about a moment ago, because that's what allows our clients to understand the strategies and skills faster and allows them to go out into the world and apply it faster. We're by our client's side every step along the way. We're even by their parents' side every step along the way if they need it. And the end result is that our clients make more progress and more connections in less time. And Alana and I do a lot of crying because it's very inspiring to watch. Alana didn't used to be a crier, now she is. So that's who we are. And I'm very proud of the massive impact that Alana and I have on the lives of autistic and neurodivergent adults and their families. And so our promise to you is that by the end of this training, you'll have a simple and effective 5-step roadmap that can empower your son or your daughter or your client or you to meet more people with more confidence and do it faster than you thought possible. But for many of your young adults right now, socializing is a struggle. Meeting new people and bringing those people into their lives can feel like absolutely overwhelming. It can feel like each and every part of this social process is its own riddle that needs to be solved. And so, just take a look at the list. You guys can't see it, but I actually have a projector behind me. Hopefully you can see it on your screen, but take a look at it and ask yourself, how many of the things on this list describe what your young adult is feeling? They're nervous, they get anxious, they get frustrated, and it's because every part of the social process feels like a riddle, which is exhausting and anxiety-provoking. We had Dr. Dave Caudell of the Vanderbilt Autism Center as a guest speaker in our program's weekly community call. And he said something which I think really resonated with our clients, which is that people on the spectrum are sick and tired of poorly imitating what other people do so easily. And Alana and I think that's equally applicable to a lot of neurodivergent people, even people who are not autistic. But we'd even go a step farther, because what we hear from so many of your young adults' peers is that they feel like they have tried everything and everything has failed. And many parents feel that way too. And that's exactly why Alana and I have dedicated our careers to making sure that your young adult doesn't fail, okay? We have dedicated our careers to helping wonderful people like them live their purpose and bring their light and bring their love to others in this world. And that's why the 5 steps that we're talking about today are so important. The 5 steps are designed to cut through the massive mountain of advice that's out there, because it's an overwhelming amount of advice that you can just dive into. Between the books and the websites and the YouTube videos, there's so much advice out there. And some of that advice is good. Some of it's absolute garbage. A lot of it's contradictory. And when you put all that together, it's pretty impossible for you and your young adult to know what to do. Okay, that's paralyzed. So we're going to give you a simpler approach, which we call the 5 steps. And it'll help your young adult have more control over who they're bringing into their life, how they're building a deeper connection with those people, and the confidence that they feel when they're doing it. And I think you'll start to see why everything that you've tried before really hasn't helped them build the friendships and the relationships that they so badly want and that you want for them. But when you help them take the 5 steps, they'll have a clear path that can empower them to have deeper conversations, smoother social interactions, and they'll start feeling like a more confident and courageous version of themselves. So the first step is to help your young adult set their sights on social success, which is just a very fancy way of saying that it's important to help them understand what they want their social life to look like and who they want to be in it. One of the most important questions that our amazing coach Cecile asks in every strategy session is, what do you want your friendships and relationships to be like? And the answers are usually something pretty short, like, I want someone nice, I want someone who will appreciate me, I want someone to hang out with, right? I want someone to do things with. And obviously, those are very real desires, but they're pretty vague. And that's because most people don't have clarity about who they want in their life and what they want their life to look like. And that's a problem, because how do you help your son or daughter or client or yourself bring the right people into their life when they don't even know who they're looking for? So your young adult really gets caught in this chicken and egg situation. No plan, no goal, no goal, no plan. It's pretty classic catch 22. And what we know to be true is that the only way to achieve a goal in life is by having a clear vision of what that goal is, because that's what allows us to reverse engineer the right strategy to make it. So that's why the first step is to help your young adult think through what they want their life to look like and who they want to be in it. Because then we can work smarter and not work harder. That's like my motto. Since so many of the clients in our program are movie fanatics, one way we help them get clarity is by helping them make a movie in their mind that they can watch over and over again in their head, where they're being social and they're succeeding. That way, when they actually go out into social places, they already know what success looks like and what success feels like. Because not only have they watched that movie before, they wrote it, they produced it, they starred in it. So, getting really concrete here, for you to get started, help your son or your daughter or your client start thinking about who's in the movie with them, where are they going together, what are they doing together, what are the conversations that they're having. And when it comes to that conversation piece, this is where you want to get really specific, okay? What are the questions that your young adult is asking? What are the answers that they're getting back? What's your young adult replying, okay? And this is a biggie. What does winning look like and feel like for your young adult? And I say this in all seriousness, help them go deep, particularly on the last part, the feeling of winning, because the more vivid the movie in their mind, the easier it is for us to make it reality. So that's the first step, helping them set their sights on social success. The second step is finding those people, which we call finding their tribe. And it's all about helping your son or daughter or client or yourself spend more time with the right people are getting to. When our amazing coach Cecile does strategy sessions, she always starts with a big question. What is not working in your social life? And almost everyone who comes to us has the exact same frustration. They don't know where to go to find people that they'll enjoy. Well, that's a big heaping problem when you're trying to build a social life, right? When you don't know where to go to find the right people, you see firsthand what happens, right? They mostly hang out with you, mom and dad, right? Family takes the place of friendship. And they spend a lot of time in their room, which usually means that they're playing a lot of video games, or they spend a lot of time staring at their phone, watching the latest TikToks or YouTube videos. And none of those things is getting your son or daughter any closer to their purpose. Okay, when they're alone in their room or they're staring at their screen, it means that they are not out in the places where their future friends are hanging out. And that means that they're not giving themselves any chance at the life that they want or the life that you want for them. What you really want for your son or daughter is to have a true friend and maybe a true partner one day. And that means that you should help them look for people who have 3 essential qualities, which in our program we call the true friend test. Quality 1, common interest, okay? A true friend or partner shares at least one of your young adult's hobbies or passions, whether that's art or anime or hiking or comics or music, even video games, believe it or not. That's still a common interest on which to base a friendship. Quality number 2, mutual acceptance. They accept your young adult for who they are, and they allow your young adult to be their genuine self, and vice versa. And quality 3 is equal effort in building the relationship. And I don't think I need to say much more of it. But if you ask us, there is nothing in the world quite like having people in your life who are true friends. And it starts with your son or your daughter or your client spending time in the places where the right people are getting together. So that's why step 2 is all about helping them find their tribe. I will be the very first person to admit that I thought the internet would be bar none the solution for loneliness for people with autism and neurodivergence. There are like 5 billion people on the internet. That seems like a good thing. You don't need to think about body language when you're chatting on the internet. That seems pretty good. You have time to think about what questions you want to ask, what answers you want to give. That seems pretty great. So for all those reasons, I was part of a very large crowd of people who thought that the internet was exactly what the autistic and neurodivergent community needed to solve the loneliness. And now I'm part of a very large crowd of people that is very disappointed, because in reality, the internet has actually made loneliness worse for many, many people who have already felt marginalized and frustrated. Okay, many autistic and neurodivergent people waste countless hours sending messages to strangers on dating sites, and then they get ignored or they get ghosted, or like catfish, that's the big word right now. Or maybe your young adult messages with some people through a gaming portal or a social media app or on Discord, but they log off feeling like something's missing, and it's because something is missing, right? Chatting with strangers on the internet isn't a friendship. And even worse, right? The stranger on the other end may be out to defraud your son or daughter. I spent 7 years, as a criminal prosecutor in New York City. I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that the biggest factor in falling victim to a love scam is loneliness. Lonely people want to believe that the attention they're getting is real, which is why they fall for fraudsters at a truly unbelievable rate. And the internet is by far the easiest place for fraudsters to find new victims. But scams aside, autistic and neurodivergent people have shared with Alana and me and Cecile that trying to find people online is actually twice as hard as meeting them in person. And there are two reasons for that. Number one, the internet is full of hidden rules. Okay, just look at the list on your screen. There are hidden rules for everything: writing your profile, choosing your photos, deciding who to message, what to say, how often, right? And then you have to ask them on a date, and there are hidden rules for that. It's daunting, and that's one problem. And the second problem is that even if your son or daughter manages to master all the hidden rules of the internet, they still need the in-person social skills to win that person over in real life. And think about that for a moment. Your young adult can spend years learning how to interact with people online, but once they master it, the only thing that gets them is one phone call, or maybe one coffee or hangout or date. That's it. And once they do get together in person, your young adult still needs the conversation skills and the body language skills to spark a connection. So in reality, what's happening is that the internet basically doubles the number of social skills your young adult needs to master, which means double the work, double the frustration, double the time, if not more. And when you spent a lifetime struggling, that is not what you want. So the bottom line is that the most socially successful autistic and neurodivergent people aren't sitting at home, they're not hanging out in bars, and they're certainly not spending all their time on the internet. What makes them successful is that they are focused on finding their tribe, becoming part of the fabric of that tribe, building relationships within the tribe. And our suggestion to you is help them do the same. Okay? We encourage you to help your young adult find the places where welcoming and inclusive people are doing things in your area that they find fun and exciting. Because what has become crystal clear to Alana and me is that nothing good happens when you're spending your time in the wrong places, or worse, feeling lonely at home alone. But when your young adult finds their tribe, then they'll have more fun, they'll be more relaxed, and they can be the best version of themselves. So that's step 2, help them find. The third step is about way more than friendship and dating. Building your mental library is a tool that can help your son or daughter or client in all aspects of their life, whether it's a college interview or a job interview or a family gathering or a meeting with a teacher, whatever, because it's all about them being prepared ahead of time with interesting things to talk about and interesting questions to ask so that they can have better conversations that can spark that connection. And that is so important because once your son or daughter knows who they want in their life and where to go to find those people, then they need to know how to win those people over. So that's the third step. And most people who come to us for a strategy session tell us that sparking that connection has been a lifelong challenge for them. They go into social situations and they don't know what they're going to say, and they don't know what they're going to ask, and they don't know what they're going to do in the conversation. So either they keep to themselves, which is what Alana and I call being alone within a crowd, or they try to start a conversation, but it goes badly. And it isn't your young adult's fault. Most people don't know what guidance to give an autistic or neurodivergent person who wants to be more successful. So they make suggestions like, say hi, introduce yourself, just start talking to people, be yourself. And all of that is meant well, but the reality is that it doesn't work. It doesn't work for autistic and neurodivergent adults. And frankly, it doesn't work for neurotypical people either. Because if I were to walk up to you and say, hi, my name is Jeremy. What's your name? Right? You would think that I was weird. And frankly, you'd be right, because that's not how adults meet each other. So what is happening is that your young adult is trying to succeed in the social world without a solid social plan. And as my mentor always says, and my mentor is from probably 10 miles from here, when you fail to have a plan, you are planning to fail. Okay. When you fail to have a plan, you are planning to fail. And that's why so many young adults on the spectrum and who are neurodivergent are experiencing rejection and over and over and over again. They have a strong desire for friendship. They have a strong desire for romantic relationships. They don't have a solid plan for how to get there. And it leads to one rejection after another, which feels awful for them. And frankly, as a parent, it probably even feels worse. I think you know it, but your son or daughter or client is trying their best. But what happens is that they go into the world and they get nervous and they get anxious. And then they start tripping over their words and they start getting tongue tied because their mind is racing. And then sometimes their mind goes blank entirely. And then the conversation just falls, it falls apart because there's no flow. It just feels uncomfortable. And in the end, your young adult gives up, or the person that they were talking to walks away because there's no spark there and there's no connection. And your son or your daughter goes home alone again without a friend, without a phone number, and really nothing to show for their effort, except more frustration. Did that one already. Am I going in the wrong direction? Let's see. Mental library. Did that. Okay. Love this slide. I love this slide because it's all about leveraging a neurodivergent person's strengths. Okay. When you think about it, if you want to win in a social situation, right, you have to have a genuine conversation that sparks a connection. And what I love about working with autistic and neurodivergent people is that they're absolutely capable of it. And we say that because conversations usually follow a pattern, and neurodivergent people tend to be very good with patterns. So with our clients, we use that to their advantage. And it starts by thinking about conversations as nothing more than a combination of 5 basic building blocks. Number 1, the questions that people ask to keep the conversation flowing. Number 2, the responses that people give. Number 3, the reactions that people have to those responses. Number 4, the next steps that they decide on, like when they're going to call each other again or when they're going to get together to hang out or go on a date. And then underlying all of that is body language, particularly active. And that's really it. Okay. Almost every conversation is just those 5 building blocks mixed and mashed in some way. And once your young adult starts looking for those 5 building blocks in conversations, they'll also start noticing patterns in the way that the elements are combined, which is exactly what socially successful autistic and neurodivergent people do. They realize that conversations follow a pattern, and so they're prepared for it. And the way they prepare for it is by building a mental library for each element of the conversation. They have an effective conversation starter to break the ice. Then they prepare deep questions to keep the conversation going in a way that provokes thought, because neurodivergent people hate small talk, and it's one of the things I love so much about them. And they've also prepared dynamic responses and stories that are intriguing to the other person in the conversation because, and this is important, short answers are absolute conversation killers, okay? But dynamic responses are sticky and they make a lasting impression. So our suggestion is to help your son or your daughter or your client do the same thing. Help them build a mental library, and they are going to love what happens because when they have a mental library of things to talk about, their mind won't go blank and their tongue won't get tied and the conversation will flow more effortlessly. And that is magnetic. Okay? That's when the winning begins. Alana and I have a good friend who actually now works with us. His name is Stephen Rodriguez. He's had a profound impact on the way that Alana and I think about being a successful person with a different ability. Stephen is autistic. He's a business owner. He's married. He's a dad. At least one of his kids is on the spectrum. And when he guest speaks at our program's weekly community call, he says something that I think will probably resonate with you. He says that he can fool people for about 5 minutes into thinking that he's just like them, but pretty soon they figure out that there's something different about him. So Stephen built his strengths into his self-disclosure. He says something like, just so you know, pretty soon you're going to start thinking that I'm weird. So please understand that my brain is wired differently than yours, which means probably not going to get your jokes and I'm not going to get your sarcasm. And you're going to see my eyes shifting in every direction while I'm thinking about what it is that you tell me. But I want you to know that I am dedicated. I'm an amazing person with a great attention to detail, and we're going to have a great time. And those strengths that Stephen has and that Stephen has turned into his superpowers are what allows him not only to navigate, but I would say like thrive, succeed in a world that often seems really stacked against people whose brains are wired differently. So your fourth step is to do the same thing. Help your son or daughter find their superpowers. And they are there, okay? But right now, the world is still stuck in the old ways of thinking about autism and neurodivergence. The too many people in our society having a brain wired differently is just an obstacle. They believe that autism is a disease and that your son or your daughter needs to hide who they truly are, and they need to apologize for how their brain works. They need to mask their quirks, and they need to, you just need to act like everybody else, right? And it's devastating. The old ways of thinking about autism and neurodivergent have been downright destructive. And at the very least, it makes people who are neurodivergent feel like they're a problem that needs to be cured. And it makes them feel broken and defective and invisible. And they feel like they don't belong. And it makes them feel unwanted and insignificant. And all of that is paralyzing. It is paralyzing when you feel like a lesser human being. And what's so heartbreaking is that exactly the opposite is true, right? Autistic and neurodivergent is not lesser, it's just different. But differences are actually really important. Society is weaker when we are all homogenous, when we're all the same, okay? Society is stronger when we aren't all the same. And those differences can be superpowers. So my suggestion to you as parents or practitioners is to help your son or your daughter or your client find their superpowers. And if you need help doing that, right, start by thinking about all the incredible light and love that they can bring this world with their honesty and integrity and empathy and loyalty and commitment and creativity and inclusivity and tenacity. Because Alana and I spend all day, every day with people on the spectrum and who are neurodivergent, and these are their traits. Okay. Your young adult has gifts to give people in this world, but too often those gifts are locked inside of them. So, let's uncover their superpowers because the world is a really scary place right now, and people desperately need their light and their love and their goodness. Let's talk about the fifth step. This is the one that separates the people whose lives change quickly from everyone else who just continues to struggle. Okay, and it's having the right mentor. The right mentor is the secret weapon of your young adults peers who are living their best lives. And I'm going to share something with you that I wish I knew years ago, which was everyone should have a mentor. It doesn't matter what you're trying to accomplish. If you're trying to accomplish something in life, it's easier when you have a mentor. And if you think about it, there's a great mentor behind every achievement, like ever, right? Michael Jordan had Phil Jackson, Bill Gates had Warren Buffett, Oprah Winfrey had Jeffrey Jacobs, the Beatles had George Martin, Luke Skywalker had Yoda. I have 5 mentors of my own, not including Alana and my parents. If you want to succeed at something, you have to have a mentor who knows how to make it happen because trial and error is a recipe for failure, okay? But the right mentor will give your son or daughter exactly what they need to be successful. Starting with a proven strategy, right? A strategy that other autistic and neurodivergent people, like your young adult, have used so you know it works. But as I said, I think one of the first things I said when I started talking is that strategy alone is not enough because if you don't have the confidence, you're not going to actually use it. So you want to have a mentor who will be there in those tough moments when your son or daughter needs someone to inspire them and motivate them and build their confidence. Because winning is a process. And there are going to be those moments along the way when your son or daughter doubts themselves and they need a mentor who will be there to boost them up when they need it most. And you also want a mentor who will hold your young adult accountable because humans have a tendency to slack off when nobody's okay. It's just human nature. But the right mentor is going to keep them moving forward, and the right mentor will be there to troubleshoot and to solve the obstacles that inevitably pop up along the way. And that's really important because, let's see if I can get the slide to move. There you go. Yeah. It's important because there are going to be times when things go wrong and you don't know why. And at that moment, right, your son or your daughter or your client is going to have only three choices. They can quit. That's what a lot of people do, right? They quit. They can waste months or even years trying to figure out what the problem is themselves. Or they can turn to their mentor who knows exactly what's going on and knows exactly how to fix it, right? Troubleshooting the problems that arise along the way is critical. And that's why nobody has ever transformed their life by reading a self-help book or watching YouTube videos. Okay? Books and videos feel good. They feel like you're doing something. But when a question comes up or you get stuck, there's nobody there to ask for help. But the right mentor is going to be there for your young adults and for your family to reconnect them to the dream, to remind them of their greatness, to show them exactly what went wrong, and to show them exactly how to fix it and get them back on the path to success. I went to one of my clients' weddings. His name is Douglas. I was actually in his wedding. I gave a blessing to him and his bride during the ceremony of the marital canopy. And he came up to me afterwards at the wedding reception, and he said something to me that I'm always going to remember. He said, when the odds are against you, you have to change the odds. And Douglas knew what the odds were for him. He did not want to live life alone, okay? But everything else that he had tried had failed, and he needed to change the odds, and that's why he sought out a mentor. And now he's married, he has a wonderful wife, they're happy together, and he's never looked back. Alana and I and Cecile, we love serving the autism and neurodiverse community because we love helping people win, helping your sons and your daughters and your clients live up to their potential and achieve their dreams of friendship and relationships is what gets us out of bed every morning. It means the world to us. So we want to share with you what we can do to help. We're going to just address this directly to families here, but it is applicable also to practitioners. Our team is offering to speak to your family about how your son or your daughter can take these steps that we've been talking about today and start applying it to their social life starting right now. And the reason why we offer that is because whatever is keeping them stuck, we've seen it and we've helped our clients overcome it. Our wonderful coach, Cecile, will get on the phone with your family and you'll do a strategy session together. We'll spend 90 minutes getting your family crystal clear on exactly what your son or daughter wants their friendships to be, what they want their relationships to be, where they've been getting stuck in the process, and then we're going to share with them a plan for how to fix it. That way, your family leaves the strategy session feeling like there's a path forward and like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. What we've found over the years is that since we are going to be working on one of the most important goals in your son or daughter's life, we need the most important people in their life to participate. And that's why we do a strategy session with you, your co-parent or your spouse, and your young adult. It's 3 of you and Cecile, who you're going to love that. Of course, if there isn't a second parent in your son or daughter's life, let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to meeting all 3 of you because having all 3 of your perspectives is how we make progress faster. And we also know that if you want to work together with us, that's going to be a family decision. And we can't do a 90-minute session twice. So it's incredibly important that when we get together with Cecile, it's a family to do that strategy session. But the strategy session itself costs nothing. There's no charge, there's no catch. We just ask that all 3 of you show up and be ready for it. And it's our gift to families who want to help their son or daughter enjoy a social life that's more vibrant and more fulfilling. So, if you want to talk with us and take that next step and schedule a strategy session with our team so that we can talk about the next chapter in your son or daughter's life, you can go to mybestsociallife.com/apply. If you're a practitioner, you can email us. But either way, Cecile will spend 90 minutes with you and your co-parent and your son or daughter, and it's going to be the best 90 minutes you spend talking about their social life.